This is this is actually going to be quite unusual in terms of number of folks. A remarkable amount of activity post Memorial Day. This will probably be our lowest turnout for executive committee members, but still worth doing, obviously. And all this information is will provide. People can read it and review it, so it's all on camera, so to speak. So that's great. I will add, Tony, we'll brag a little bit on ourselves as we're getting ready for, we're a finalist for the All-American City competition across the U.S. One of a handful of finalists, so we're gonna, among several of our initiatives that got us to that position.
Oh yeah. What's it entail? Everything? Pretty much everything?
Climate action. Yeah, so the part of the application was to showcase 3 initiatives that brought the community together, and the time, this worked out well since we had just put our commission together, and so we'll be highlighting that. And we're the only Pennsylvania municipality that got forward. So
that's great. How many people in the finals?
Well,
20.
I'll certainly let you know when we find out next Wednesday how it goes. So we're looking forward to that.
Well, congratulations and good luck. I hope you guys get that. That'd be something nice feather in the cap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a nice one.
It would be good. Thanks. Appreciate that. Well, being at 7:01, I'll call the meeting to order. And normally our standard first action is to approve the minutes, and Joyce, to be a bit of a stickler, I don't think we have a quorum.
Yeah,
so we'll go ahead and get that virtually when we can get it from others to approve the May 6th minutes. I think we're just one short of a quorum, so we'll have to defer any formal actions today, which is not a big deal, since I think just approving the minutes is the only thing we are formally approving today. So thank you for keeping us honest on that one. And I do want to see if is there anyone in the public who would like to speak, or either online or well, obviously just online, I guess, since we're not in person. There's nobody. Okay, thanks.
We have 2 people with us tonight, attendees, but they haven't asked to say anything, so we're okay.
Okay, thanks, Joyce. Well, welcome, attendees. I'm glad you could join us. We'll turn this quickly over to Sarah, but first order of business is, I guess we officially have a new member of our team, extended team. The borough has offered, and the student has accepted the position of community engagement team summer intern. And Sarah, I'd turn it over to you to introduce and educate us on our windfall here.
Great. So Nuhan Abid, he is a student at Dickinson, an international student. He is a rising senior, and he will be joining us this summer for, I believe, an 8-week internship. He'll be working full-time with us. He'll be helping with survey distribution and also analysis of the results, also coordinating with the Cumberland County Climate Action team, and helping with our social media efforts and just general outreach as well. So we're really excited for him to join the team. He's previously worked with CEAS at Dickinson, the Center for Sustainability Education, as well as the Popel Shaw Center and the Center for Civic Learning and Action as well. So yeah, we're really excited for him to join the team, and his first day will be Monday, June 14th, as long as everything goes according to plan. I think, yeah, we're all set. So
that's exciting. I think those who don't already know will be very, if you're like me, excited. And Nuhan's a very energetic and has a lot of great ideas, is really ready to hit the ground running. So we're very very lucky to have this opportunity. So thanks, Sarah, and all your work in helping bring this together. It's always optimal to be able to provide people monetary compensation for their internships. Unfortunately, we don't always have that luxury, and in this case, it really worked out largely because of your efforts and some generous donations from Dickinson. So it's going to be a good, productive summer. And we briefly talked about it, but Stephanie, I don't know if you want to update us at all on the logistics or let those who may not already know about the All-American City competition and the Climate Action Commission's role in that.
Okay. Yeah, so it was their theme this year was building equitable and resilient communities. So we have 3 projects: our efforts in restoring an old African American cemetery, and the push for racial equity in the borough, and the Carlisle Community Action Network and their response to the pandemic, and then the Climate Action Commission. So our premise is kind of past, present, future. So past being the cemetery, present the pandemic, and future climate change. So we present on Tuesday at 2 p.m., 10-minute presentation, so not a lot of time, where everyone's kind of just sort of give an overview of what you're doing, what the Climate Action Commission is for. And we're the only team, I think, with someone from England on our in our presentation. We have an international soundbite from our sister city. So I think that's kind of cool.
I may force this team to watch the opening video next time, because it Stephanie did one hell of a great job on our little opener, about 2.5 minutes to really.
A minute and a half.
I call it opening with Jukebox Hero. If you were a foreigner,
Nice.
you're coming out with the big one right up front, and that's what we're definitely doing with her video. But
I'll selfishly put the link in the chat to the video, so if anyone wants to watch it on their own time.
Yeah, put it in the chat.
she's being very modest. It's really well done. Please do view it. I think all of us can feel proud to be.
I really want to share it on our social media, but I don't want to ruin the presentation. So
Yeah.
But it's like I'm out of it.
I'll defer. I think I had our inter-team group employment. I'll defer that when we get to Mohammed's section, where we're at with that. We only have one new face here today, Tony Bandiero. Before I introduce him, I did just want to go around the room, make sure he knew who everyone was. Stephanie, just in the interest of being expeditious, I'll kind of try to do my best. So I'll do it. This is a perfect Brady Bunch thing for me right now. So Stephanie Taylor is responsible for all of our public engagement and social media. She works for the borough. Joyce Stone is our office manager and runs the show and keeps all our agendas. So and then we got a couple of utility reps here, Jim Rowland from PPL and Tony Reimer from UGI.
Great.
And our utilities have been part of this team since we started, and we're lucky that they felt that it was in their interest to be part of this, and we benefited from that. Tom Horton works for the school district, responsible for all the energy and plus other things, maintenance and stuff that gets done throughout the school district. And then 2 of our 4 team leads, we have 4 team leads on the commission. 2 of them are here. Sarah Markowitz heads up the community engagement team. Mohammed Badisi heads up our projects and estimates team, which does kind of assigned to do cost benefit analysis. Really, I think, Tony, you'll be a really useful resource for things that Mohammed's team is doing. So we are missing a few members, two team leads. Everyone let me know they weren't going to be able to make it, but we still have a good participation here. And so those, we have Tony Bandiero. He's the executive director of the Eastern PA Alliance for Clean Transportation. He's here to talk a little bit about his organization and how he can be a resource for us moving forward in many of our transportation related goals. I think it's clear after talking with Tony before much time, you can tell he's excited to work with us, and I think he'll be a valuable resource in working with us to promote clean vehicles. He's interested in working with local vendors to promote new EV technologies. I'm optimistic we can work with his group to help educate people on the benefits of these options. We discussed a little bit about the possibility of coordinating with Carlisle Events, as we know, is a premier showcase for all things transportation, and to try to increase EV and other types of clean energy technologies to the masses here. And there's no better place on the Eastern Seaboard than Carlisle, Pennsylvania. So a lot of potential win-wins here. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tony. Welcome. We're really excited to have you here.
Hey, thanks so much, Joel. I appreciate you guys having me here tonight to talk to you. Like I said, my voice is a little scratchy, so you're gonna have to bear with it for 20 slides or so. But thank you again for having me, and excited to be here. So I'm going to share my screen at a PowerPoint, and basically what I'm going to do is I want it to be interactive. So if you guys have some questions while I'm going on, stop me in the middle, and then rather than wait to the end, and we can have some discussion on this. I want to say I've been doing this. I'm the executive director. I've been doing this for going on 13 years now. With the organization. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. So one of the good things of working with my organization is we don't sell cars, we don't sell fuel, we don't build stations, we don't do any of that stuff. But what we're good at is really putting the projects together, getting the rubber on the road, getting the equipment out there, getting the infrastructure set up, and getting funding. We do it, since we are a nonprofit, we kind of beg, borrow, and plead for money to help do, keep us alive. So I'm going to kind of go through the program. From the national level, we're a Department of Energy sponsored organization. And I'll also start let me just share my screen with you guys so you can see my slides. I don't know how to do this. Let's see if we can do this. All right, from the beginning. All right, hey, here we go. So there's the introductories. Everybody can see this okay? I'm kind of technology challenge. Okay, so the first slide is what is Clean Cities? Like I said, we're part of the Department of Energy's Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy Office, the Vehicle Technology Program. We've been doing this since 1993. Our organization was the third one founded, and I'll go into the organization a little bit in a few slides, but I just wanted to tell you what we're about. So the highlighted bullet points in red is really the things that we do that we're good at. Public-private partnership for clean fuel vehicles and fuel efficient technologies. So what we're good at, like I said, together, getting the utilities together, getting the fleets and getting the end users together, and putting projects on the road. So I'm really glad to have the two utilities on the line here, because we really want to start working with them, especially with the electric vehicles. One thing I want to say is we are technically fuel agnostic, which means we like all alternative fuels. We just don't like electric. We like natural gas, and I'll get through those. We like propane. We like hydrogen fuel cells, biodiesel, and ethanol. Those are the ones that we support. So we are agnostic. Because we support them all, whatever the flavor of the week is, we go with that. So electric seems to be the flavor of the week. A lot of projects are coming up in the electric transportation. I'll show you some of the ones that we're working on. And, so we just go wherever they're throwing money and wherever people are interested, we go with it as long as it's in our portfolio. So the second bullet point in red, we provide a framework for businesses and governments to work together as a coalition. And that's what we're really good at. Our coalition we have over 60 paying members that pay to be in our organization. They find the value of being part of this organization, the networking, the projects that we put out, the vehicles and the infrastructure that we help build out has helped all these companies, and you'll see who's in our organization in a few slides. It's helped all these companies understand the value of the Clean Cities. So that's what the Clean Cities is, as a 10,000 foot view. Sorry about that. So why the Clean Cities? Why would you want to work with us? We advance the energy and economic and environmental security of the United States by supporting local actions. The good thing about us is we are local. We are based in Philadelphia, but we cover Eastern Pennsylvania. We cover 34 counties of Eastern and Central Pennsylvania, including yours. And then there's another Clean Cities, that's Pittsburgh region. They cover the other 33 counties. So together we cover the whole state and represent Pennsylvania to the the federal government, to the Department of Energy. So the Clean Cities, what our mantra is, these three arrows over here. Our main thing is reduce petroleum consumption. The last administration was kind of tough. This new administration, as you know and heard, is really putting all its eggs in one basket and trying to do the transportation and electrify everything and do everything. So a lot of the funding, a lot of the projects are starting to come through the Clean Cities because they know we've already been doing this. Our feet are already on the ground. We know who's involved, who wants to do some of the projects, and we're already talking to those people. The second hour, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So obviously one of the good things about using alternative fuels is that they're better for the environment, okay? Whether it's ethanol to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, or biodiesel, or electricity, obviously no tailpipe emissions coming from the vehicles. So that's one of the things that we could tout, and that your town could tout as well, as by using alternative fuels, you get that reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And then the last one, not as big as it used to be, but reduce the dependence on imported petroleum. 5 years ago, we used to import a lot more petroleum than we do now. Now we are exporting petroleum, so that's one of the reasons. But we still are going to reduce and have energy security. We know that, not everybody likes the United States. Across the sea, they are very hostile towards us. So we still are importing some oil, but using alternative fuels, everything, and especially in Pennsylvania, is a homegrown domestic fuel, and that's what we want to support. So the Clean Cities portfolio, besides the fuels that we support, which will be the next slide, these are our four portfolio core things: light, medium duty, heavy vehicles. We support those, and the new technologies that are coming for those, alternative fuels and renewable fuels and infrastructure. And on that, I'll go through those in the next slide. We also do anti-idling programs. So anything that reduces petroleum consumption is something we support. And then there's a new thing called MEMS. It's new mobility choices and emerging transportation technology. This is basically connectivity of vehicles and lights, and just connectivity are all around in a city environment or in an environment that will help the traffic flow better, which will help people use less fuel by not having to stop or idle or things like that. So that's coming faster than you know. I know everybody's scared about the autonomous driving, but that's going to be here too, and that's going to also help with accidents and things like that. So there's a lot of things that are coming down the pike from the Clean Cities, and this new mobility and choices is one of the new things that we are starting to get into. So our portfolio of technologies, again, the alternative fuels that we support are these 6: the biodiesel, electricity, hydrogen fuel cells, natural gas, propane, and ethanol. So there's 2 biofuels. And then, like I said, the big push right now is electricity. But like I said, we're fuel agnostic. So if there's a good project that's a natural gas project, in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of, we do that. So the 3 mantras that we have around the triangle are to reduce the use of petroleum. So that also has to do with vehicle miles traveled and planning trip planning, things like that. Replace old vehicles with newer vehicles that are better on gas. We like that too. It doesn't have to just be alternative fuels, anything that's going to replace an old diesel and get better gas mileage. We like that. And eliminate the use of gasoline or diesel vehicles. That's the last thing. So these are our core portfolios that we've been doing. And in a few slides, I'll show you some of the projects that we do and some of these alternative fuels. So nationally, there's about 80 coalitions that are like ours in Philadelphia. And between all 80 of us, we've reduced 11 billion gas gallon equivalents of fuel in our, I guess we're going on 27 years now. So our goal was to get to 2.2 billion gallons of GGE reduction a year. We didn't do it last year because of the COVID and everything that affected a lot of things. A lot of people didn't drive, and it's a good thing for us, but a lot of people didn't drive. The environment got a lot better because people weren't driving. But the alternative fuels, people weren't buying vehicles at all last year because nobody was driving. So, but the year before we did I think it was 2.1. We almost hit it. We almost hit the goal. So we're expecting this year, as everything ramps up again, that we will be at our 2.25 billion gallons of displacement between the 80 coalitions. Excuse me. Okay, so this is kind of like what we're good at. When I said from the beginning of the Clean Cities activities, the core, and these are the 4 mantras of what we do. We have local and national partnerships. I'll show you in a few slides some of the national partners that we have, some of our local partners that are involved in our organization. And the nice thing about us is work with the Department of Energy is that we have a information and education. We have a technology center that we can go to and ask any question and get any information. So if you had a question about a vehicle or about some type of infrastructure, you can just send me the question and I can go to my technical response team, and pretty much in 2 days I'd have a 3-page dissertation on whatever the question you wanted. So we are a really good source for a resource for information. Excuse me. Again, we do a lot of grant writing, so the competitive awarded financial assistance, if you guys are looking to build out infrastructure for charging stations or whatever, we can help you get some funding for that. Hopefully, that's what we're good at. Excuse me. And like I said, the technical and problem solving assistance, we do have a technical response team that responds usually within 2 days, and we have information at our fingertips. So the nice thing about the Department of Energy too is they aren't biased. They're not going to skew the information. They give you the real information. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. They're not going to make up stuff. They don't say, hey, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. If it's a propane truck that's used for street sweeping or it doesn't really work, they'll tell you that. And we, as being a network of 80 coalitions, we all know each other. There's 80 of us, and we get together once. We usually get together once a year, and we're like, I like to tell everybody, we're like a fraternity. We share all the good stuff because nobody wants bad projects, right? So we always share good information. We always share if we hear about a vendor that's truck wasn't good or something, we'll know about it. So we don't want any bad projects. That's the one thing that's really good about our network, is that we're very tight. Okay, moving right on. So this is the last slide. Like I said, the goal was to get 2.5 billion gallons of petroleum reduced by 2020. We didn't do it last year because of the COVID. I think we have to do a data collection every year for the Department of Energy. Our coalition was down like 500,000 gallons of displacement compared to the year before. So, and they know that is because of the COVID, but that's our goal. So, if you join on, we hope that, we can get some of you guys, get some vehicles, and you guys can help us bring that number up. Like I said, this is kind of just the overview of where all the clean cities are. We cover 82% of the population. This is an older map. I think we've reduced this we're about at 80 coalitions now. They combine some of the ones in Connecticut and some of the other ones they combine. So we're about at 80 coalitions now. like I said, we cover your county and city, and then there's another one in Pittsburgh. But the good thing is I'm friends with the people in California. California is kind of ahead of everybody else on all this stuff. So it's nice to talk to them on a lot of things. They get a lot of money out there for doing things, but they're also all the vendors are out there as well. So we get to hear the lowdown before it comes out to this. So if there's something bad or something's not working out there, we can talk to our cohorts out there, and we get the down low on what's going on. So like I said, it's a really nice network of coalitions that we have. Like I said, the information that we have is second to none. We have this thing called the Alternative Fuel Data Center, AFDC, we call it. So anything you possibly want to know about any type of fuel is on there. You can click on one of those nozzles, any type, and you can get the down low on any one of the fuels. On our webpage, on our own webpage, we have this, and it just connects automatically to this center. There's also, you can vehicle, what kind of vehicles are out there, pretty much anything you want to know about alternative fuels and vehicles. You just click on this, go to this website, and it's really the best website out there. And I use it for everything. Okay, again, so another thing that we have is we have a Clean Cities TV station. Like I said, we're part of the Department of Energy's Vehicle Technologies Group. They put out a YouTube Clean Cities station. And this thing you guys might be interested in, Lancaster Solid Waste Municipal Authority had a Motor Week segment done, to promote their natural gas refuse trucks. So that's one of the things that we can help promote you guys, especially being America's city. If you want to be the top city or something like that, we can help promote you guys. Saying, hey, you converted all your police cars to electric or whatever you wanted to do. We have the ability to get you on Motor Week. We have had, our coalition has had 3 segments on there. One was it was Lancaster, and it was Enterprise Rented Car. This was years ago when first electric vehicles started coming out, but we've had success. So that's one of the things that we can offer is that thing, and that's a great PR piece for any city to show. It's a wide. You can click on this on the station if you want after this, and you can see all the episodes. And if there's everything from refuse trucks to police cars to anything and every type of fuel. So it's really good information. It's a really good resource that we can offer for you as well. So I'm going to go into now the where of EPAC, the Eastern Pennsylvania Alliance for Clean Transportation. We used to be called the Greater Philadelphia Clean Cities. So we used to just encompass the 5 counties of the Delaware Valley. And then probably about 8 years ago, now I went through a redesignation process with the Department of Energy and said, hey, we were doing work in these other cities, and you can see, and you guys are in there unlisted there. We were already doing work in there, and we didn't get any credit per se from the Department of Energy. So we said, why don't we just expand the boundaries, and we'll cover Eastern Pennsylvania, and then we get Pittsburgh to cover Western Pennsylvania, and then we cover the whole state between us both. So they agreed to that. So now this is our territory. We do, like I said, we work hand in hand with Pittsburgh all the time. We do a lot of state projects together. So Pittsburgh and I talk pretty much every day or every other day about some of the projects that we're working on. So you guys are close to Harrisburg. We go to Harrisburg all the time for meetings. So once that starts up again soon, I think maybe we can see you out there. All right, sorry about that. So who are we? I told you we were a 501c3 organization. We have public and private companies that are involved in our organization. Like I said, we have over 60 paying members. They pay to be in our organization. We assist with grants, writing. We do project management. We do a lot of education and outreach. So we can come and put on a presentation for your township or for whoever, your public works or whatever, depending on what you want. We do a lot of that. We used to do them in person all the time. We've been doing it on Zoom lately, but I think we're going to be back to doing them in person again. And we also do like first responders training courses, which is a nice thing for alternative fuels. People don't even think about that. We put on first responders, how to not cut the red wire and how to put out an electrical fire is different than putting out a gas fire and things like that. So we do those kinds of projects and outreach as well. And then the last bulleted point is that we have tiered levels of stakeholder membership. So, I always say, let me prove to you the value of us before you join the organization. Let me introduce you, and you see what we're worth. And then, like I said, we have a membership that go from the low membership to a high membership. We have most of our people are in the high membership because they see the value of the organization. So these are some of this is like, I think last year, so we have more than this now, but these are some of the companies that pay to be in our organization. We've helped a lot of school districts with getting propane buses, and I'll show you that in a few slides, but there's some national companies. UPS, actually Mechanicsburg, we got them a lot of money for CNG and LNG trucks. I know that's by you. And you can see all the companies, WW Transport works in Harrisburg, but all these companies pay to be in our organization. Some are national partners, like UPS is a national partner with the Clean Cities program. Aqua America is a national partner, and so is AAA. But they're also local partners because they have local chapters, and they pay to be in our organization. And the next couple of slides are going to show you some of the projects, what we've done, so you can see, what we're about. So this was in 2018. We were selected by the state to be the alternative fuel technical assistance project managers. So we did these, we actually went to, Capital Region Water is near you guys. And we went to them, and then basically what we did is took a fleet profile, took all their vehicles, the miles they drive and the years, how old, and then we put through a calculator and run through the calculations. And then we suggested what vehicles could be replaced by what types of alternative fuels, what would work the best. So this was a one-year project that the Department of Environmental Protection from the state put on, that we won the bid. And these were the actual projects we did. So we did Central Bucks Emergency Medical Services, Capital Region Water, the Borough of Indiana, Kennett Square, and Suburban Transit. And of all these, actually, Suburban Transit, I know, has committed to buying propane vehicles. I'm not sure the other ones were unsure, and I think Capital Region Water was a little too early to get into it. But we're back to talking to them. But so out of all the ones we did, I know one has actually went into the alternative fuels, the Suburban Transit. So this is something we did like 2 years ago, got selected by the state. And if you want to read the reports, I can send you the reports. They're like 5 or 6 pages long of the recommendations. And that's something we can do for you guys too. We can go through your fleet profile, go through your vehicles, see which ones could be replaced by which type of alternative fuels. So the current activities and initiatives that we're working on right now. Yeah, I don't know if you know about this. This is, a lot of people call it the Volkswagen settlement. But in Pennsylvania, they call it driving PA forward. So they took Volkswagen, had defeating devices on their vehicles, saying that their emissions weren't as bad as they were, and they were bad, and they got caught. So they got sued by the federal government, and every state got funding from Volkswagen, depending on how many people or how many vehicles were sold in that state. So Pennsylvania got 119 million. And this was already 2 years ago. So the projects have been going on, and every year they open up. There's 8 different categories, and they'll open up each year for a little bit. They'll open up the categories. So they have, class 4 through 8 trucks, and then they have port projects, and they have a whole bunch of different projects or different categories that you can actually apply for the funding for. Nothing's open yet, but you should open soon. I think there's about 80 million left in this. I think they spent like 40 million. So I think there's 80 million left, and they have 10 years to spend it. So we're going on a 3rd year. So they have plenty of time, but they're taking their time putting the money out because they don't want to put all their eggs in one basket. But we've gotten funding for probably 7 or 8 different companies from this program itself. This is another federal project that we're involved with the state. We're working with the state PennDOT and state DEP, and we got all the interstates in Pennsylvania recognized as alternative fuel corridors. So all the interstates, I-83, 84, 78, 81, 80, Route 30, they all have been 76, 476. This is the older one, but all the interstates now in Pennsylvania have been designated alternative fuel corridors for electric vehicles and for natural gas vehicles. So what that means is there has to be going across Route 80 or any of the interstates, there has to be an electric DC fast electric charging station every 50 miles so that somebody could travel across the state. With that. So I think we're just working on that project now on I-80. I think there's only 2 locations on all I-80 that aren't 50 miles apart that have to get DC fast charging stations. And then for the natural gas, the qualification is 150 miles apart. So on I-80, there's only one spot that needs to get filled in, so that you could drive a natural gas vehicle across Route 80. And that's the one that we're working on as specifically, but we helped get these all designated through the federal government, through PennDOT and the DEP. Excuse me. So another thing we're working on is Drive Electric Pennsylvania. We started this with Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities, the Department of Environmental Protection, DCNR, and PennDOT about 5 years ago. We were trying to promote how we're going to promote electric vehicles in PA. So we've been having quarterly meetings. It's been kind of fluttering. There's about 150 people that get on the phone call or go to the meeting, and it's kind of been stagnant. So our organ, in 2 slides, I'm going to show you, we got money from the feds to actually promote this. Us and Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities, because nobody was really supporting the project or the Drive Electric PA. So what we did is we got in a grant and we got our own funding to actually promote this. So, but this is active, and there's meetings every quarter. I'm not sure when the next one is. I think it's July. Every quarter. It used to be in Harrisburg, but now it's virtual. But it's a really good organization to be. It's really good networking. If you want to get into electric vehicles, there's EV infrastructure people there. There's OEMs there. There's municipalities there. It's a pretty good meeting. So that's something you may want to look into. Another project that we're currently doing is, they call it MEEP. It's a Mid-Atlantic School Bus Experience Project. So basically what's happening is we're going to get an electric school bus, and we're going to take applications from school districts to use that school bus for 6 weeks. And just what we're going to do is collect the data from that, and we're going to see how the school districts like it, how the routes run, how the kids like it. And we're just going to, it's a project about the experience of driving in an electric school bus. So if you guys have any school districts that would be willing to, that will sign on to this, you just fill out and give you the application, you can fill it out, and then we can include you in the project. And this is the other project that we're involved in. This is the one that Drive Electric PA is part of. This is Drive Electric USA. So these are all clean cities coalitions that join together, and we got some Department of Energy money, and we're basically promoting electric vehicles for consumers, to fleets, to training all automobile dealerships. There's a lot of things that we have to do in this project, but we have deliverables that are clear. It's a 3-year project. And we have a lot of things that we're going to do to promote electric vehicles throughout Pennsylvania. So we're looking for participants like municipalities, things that help, that we can help promote our electric vehicles through you guys or through other resources that you have. So that's we can talk offline on that, but I'm definitely looking for some people, some municipalities to be involved in this project with us. So now I'm going to show you some of the state stuff that we got. We just got awarded this. The DEP just announced 2 weeks ago. We helped the County of Delaware get this. They're going all electric. They only have 300 vehicles in the county, but they're going all electric. They've made a commitment. So we helped them get grants for 15 vehicles and for 6 charging stations. We went out, we surveyed their areas, we picked the best vehicles that would work, and we wrote the grants for them. And then we got awarded, I think it was like 115,000 for the vehicles and like 40,000 for the charging stations or something like that. That just got announced like 2 weeks ago. These are some of the natural gas projects that we've deployed. Some of the grants that we got. It's over probably 200 now, because I forgot we just got UPS, just got another 30 vehicles. So we're over, this is over the last 3 years, we've put over 200 CNG vehicles on the roads in PA. These propane projects have been very popular. Propane, we've done a lot of school districts. The propane, Roush has this really good bus that everybody loves. And we've put over 400 propane vehicles on the roads in the last 3 years. Like I said, the school districts are really loving the Roush propane school bus. And the good thing about propane is the infrastructure is cheap, and the upfit for the vehicle is very cheap too. So you get your return on investment is like a year with a school bus on this. So it's a pretty sweet package. And this is the last slide I have. It's basically what can we do for you? These are all the things that we do: workshops, training, fleet analysis, facility analysis, informational resources, market research, incentives, obviously grant writing, grant administration, and project management. That's what we do. But our organization is really one that is very hands-on, you need to participate, you need to come to the meetings, and that's where you meet the people. The networking, I think, at our events is the best. That's where all our events are well attended, And when you go to an event of ours, you'll see the camaraderie and you'll see the people and you'll see why people pay to be in the organization. It's just the networking is second to none. We hope that you can come to a meeting and you'll meet people and they'll help you out and answer your questions. I'm sorry, my voice is going, but if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer right now.
Thanks a lot.
Anybody have any questions?
Yep,
Open it
I would
up.
tell you is, Carlisle would be interested in that 6-week bus trial, for sure.
All right, see, there's an application, I can send it to you guys, I'll send it to you. There's an application we fill out and then we file on them and then it's a 3-year, we just got an extension because last year, nobody was running buses. Who knew that? So we got a year extension. We have it, so it's a 3-year, probably still have 3 years on the project. So yeah, we're definitely taking applications for that. So I'll send you, who should I send the application to? All
I'll shoot you an email tomorrow.
right, cool, that's great. That'd be great. Yeah, we definitely looking for, something like Carlisle for that would be a great resource for that.
Hey, Tony,
Anybody else? I mean,
you mentioned you did 5 or 6 projects that were assessments that was run through the DEP. How
right.
did those municipalities get identified? Did you go out and find them?
No. Yeah, the DEP advertised, and it was hard. Like they don't have the marketing arm, so like we're better at getting people to find out their information than they are. But they actually put it out on their website that they were having this program was open. So I asked them, hey, can I take it and send it out to my contacts as well? So they said of course. So, but they put it out on their website. If you go on their website, you'll see I think they have the reports on their website. I have the reports. I can send them to you. What we did to, like I said, to just analyze the fleet and what's going to make sense.
Do you know if they're taking applications or requirements to fund those studies from new municipalities and when?
Yeah, they paid for it. That the nice thing was
Yeah.
they paid us to do it, and so the
Right.
municipality didn't have to pay for it. Yeah, that was the nice thing. It was a free thing for the municipalities or whoever signed up for it. So I think we got 7 applications in, but we only had a year, so we could only do 5. And then
Okay,
I
so
think they put it.
So they did. It sounds like DEP kind of deferred to you to select which ones to do.
Well, they did first come, first serve.
Okay.
That's what
Well,
they did.
I'll
Yeah,
just-
they did first
I'll just say, if they're doing another round, give us a shout.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, they haven't said anything yet. It hasn't come out, but you never know with this, especially with all the funding that's coming around through the VW fund. They can switch that VW fund out and use it for other things that they haven't used it before. So they made the alternative to the other thing I want to tell you is that alternative fuel incentive grant, the one that I showed you at Delaware County that we just won. That's coming out again in a couple of weeks. So if you guys are thinking about doing anything, let me know because we could probably get you a project in that it's going to open up. And usually the grants due in July, but it'd probably be August this year. But you have a year, you have August, you have a year pretty much to get the project together. So, as long as you have some kind of idea of what you want to do, there's in that project, there's you can get money for vehicles, for infrastructure, or you have a special project. Like if you have a special project, if you want to do, a digester, natural gas digester or something like that, you have some special project you want to do, they have a category for that as well. So that's coming out, which should be coming out in a couple of weeks.
And the heading for that grant is called what again?
Alternative Fuel Incentive Grant, AFIG.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, I assume, well, I guess all the projects you had that you did the assessment, none of them coincidentally were school districts. Are there any barriers for you just assessing a school district as opposed to a municipality, or, I mean?
Yeah, no, school districts, school districts are pretty simple because the buses run, that they're pretty easy to analyze because they pretty much run the same route. They come back to the same place. They're a lot easier to analyze a bus route than it is to do a municipal fleet that goes all over the place and maybe sometimes leaves the county, but yeah, we don't do, because buses pretty much, honestly, if they want to switch over, it's not with the propane buses, it's cheap enough where they know they're going to make the return on investment within a year. So they're not even worried about the funding for it. You know, if they get the funding, it's great, but a lot of them just switch on their own. They don't even go for grants.
Yeah, we actually looked at the propane. I think the one barrier for us was to the fuel supply. Because, you know, we have a lot of buses. We go a lot of miles. So,
Yeah, we just got we got Wilson School District, which just got funded. They have a huge, we got them, I think, 10 buses, and we got the money for infrastructure. Got them like 200,000 for infrastructure on the last round too of AFIG. So you know, the good thing about propane is a lot of the propane suppliers will come and pretty much give you the equipment if you're going to guarantee them a supply of the fuel. You know what I mean? So that's the nice thing about propane, is that the fuel suppliers work pretty well, helping you out on that.
Yeah,
And I'd be happy to introduce you to different people, different school districts if you want, or whoever you want to talk to. I have a lot of good resources in the propane school bus and paratransit. We have a couple of paratransit companies that use it to help the elderly people get to and from appointments. They use propane.
It's actually funny. I'm in Wilson School District, so I interviewed for school board, and I actually asked them what they were going to do about their school buses and how they were going to convert things. Yeah, so it's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, no, yeah, we just found out 2 weeks ago that they got the funding for both the buses and the infrastructure. So,
well, as you know, if we just look at the public fleets, the things we can control in the municipality, we're so small that the miles traveled for our police and other vehicles just aren't a lot. I mean, we're obviously going to convert, but when it comes to public fleet, I mean, the school district is king in terms of our ability to really reduce in that area. So
that's good. Yeah, we did. Like I said, we did that. We did the technical analysis on. I've ever heard of Kennett Square. I mean, it's literally a square mile. It's 2 square miles. I mean, there's no land there. I think you guys are like triple the size of that. And we made recommendations, but like you said, it's not like you're going to see some fantastic numbers and go, oh my God, what a great savings we get, because you don't drive enough miles. Like the more miles you drive, the more you save. That when you switch over to the alternative fuels, that's the way it is. So if you're not driving that many miles, the good thing is if you switch to an alternative fuel, at least you're reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. You may not be saving the bucks on the fuel or anything like that because you're not using enough, but at the same time you can tout your greenness.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm looking at right now is I have to switch over 2 of my one receiving vehicle for deliveries, and then another one for the driver's ed car. And I'm looking at and pricing right now electric cars and electric vans.
Great.
So
yeah, and you guys can buy from the state contract too, right? You're on the state you can buy from the state contract. Yeah. So I know the Chevy Bolt's on there. I don't know. I think I know the Nissan Leaf is on there. I don't know what other ones that I've got put. I think the Ford Focus EV got put on there. I'm not sure though. I can find out.
Is that
what's on the state
are you
contract?
referring? Is that the CoStars list?
Yeah, CoStars. Mm-hmm.
So they are starting to put a few more EVs on that list.
Yeah, we're trying to push them along. We're trying to get dealerships to say, hey, we're selling these cars, and because they're coming, and if they're not, and for municipalities, it stinks because if they're not on CoStars, they can't buy them,
right?
Unless they put it out for a bid. You know what I mean? So we're pushing as many cars as we can get on that list, so you can buy them off of CoStars.
That's a big deal. I mean, that's real important. That would be very, very helpful. As they come out with more useful classes, I mean, I think one of the biggest barriers out there, there really isn't what a lot of police forces would consider
right.
a
They don't want to drive a
class
Bolt
vehicle that comes standard without huge.
They're all looking at the Mustang now. They're all looking at the Ford Mustang, the electric Mustang that's coming out. That's already police are looking at that one, you know. And then you know Ford is coming out with the F-150. So you know light duty, they're coming next year. So there's I think there's 56 electric vehicles that are going to be out next year total. So there's a lot. You know, it's not just a Nissan Leaf anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know, I guess one sort of, since you work every day with this, I mean, you know, you talked about the corridor for our interstates, and, you know, when it's one thing to make sure we have like a charging station every, you know, X number of miles, but, you know, I guess when we really start scaling, I mean, really start scaling up, it seems to me that there has to be kind of a grander concept of dealing with that density of accommodating vehicle. I mean, do you sense or?
Yeah, I mean,
What do you think
it's range anxiety, right? Everybody gets it's called range anxiety when you can't find a gas station, you're panicky. So if you can't find a place to charge your car, you're panicked about that, right? That's a range anxiety. So there's two things. First off, most of the cars now are going to go 200 to 300 miles. Okay, so that's going to eliminate a lot of people's fears because most people don't drive that much in one day. Secondly, we've from all the research and all the things that we know, people charge them at home, and that's where that 95% of the charging gets done at home. So if your car does 300 miles and you're charging it at home, you don't need to charge it anywhere else. Usually, you know, unless you're going on across the country or across the state, you're not going to have to charge it again. Yeah. But that being said, people want to see the charging stations. You know, people, even if they don't use them, they want to know that they're there. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the quandary of the industry, is that they know they've done research. There was a report in Japan that nobody was buying electric vehicles. Then they put out all these charging stations in Japan, and everybody bought electric vehicles, but nobody used the charging stations. So it's one of those, you know, it's that peace of mind that I know I could fill up at every corner if I had to. And I think it's a part of what we do every day is just kind of teaching people about you're going to be driving different. You're going to know where you're going. You're not driving around like a high school kid and just going to drive around just to drive around anymore. If you have an electric vehicle, you're going to drive to a place. Most people go back and forth to work, less than 40 miles. You know, you don't have to. There's another thing that we are also sponsoring is workplace charging. We've done that. So people are putting, you know, it's an incentive for people to, hey, if you have an electric vehicle, you can get a charge at work while while you're working, your car can be charging. So there's another thing that we're also pushing, that's going to be another big, you know, a big priority area is workplace charging. And like I said, 95% of the people don't charge at home, no matter what.
Yeah, I think for folks who can afford a VV up front, that makes sense. You know, less than 40% of our population lives at home. It's called multifamily housing or row housing. And as James and Tony are tired of hearing me, I mean, that's a major, that's going to be a challenge for us. How to deal with so many people in Carlisle who don't live in a traditional single family home. And, you know, the idea of shifting the focus to workplace, right? Getting the
or public. There's other projects out there, Joel, that we're working on. You know, the environmental justice is a big piece of what we're trying to do now. You know, a lot of people why is like, you know, people think you have electric vehicles as only for rich people can afford them, but that's not going to be the case. The case is we want to make them affordable to everybody, right? And then now there's going to be a used car market on electric vehicles. So now people are already getting their second one, so they're selling their first one. So what do you do with that? Who's going to buy that car? Who's going to charge? And multi-unit dwellings, that's you know, an issue. And that is an issue, and that's something that everybody's trying to figure out how to do it. You know, because the person who owns the property isn't going to want to pay for digging up my concrete and putting wires under my concrete. And so that's an issue. We've been trying to work with actually the Green Building Council to get every new home that's being built or every new development to just have conduit laid under there just in case. You know, the Clean Cities have been trying to do that for years, just so hey, you don't have to put it there, but if you need it, you can pull the wire and you're ready to put a charging station there. So there's a lot of things that, you know, we haven't found the perfect technique for the multi-unit dwelling, but we're working on it. We're willing to talk to people that own those places and see how we can help, get a charging station. If one person wants one, then that's all that you need, right?
It's fantastic. I could talk about this for hours, but I won't. I'll just, any last final questions just here. Tony's sharing his contact information there, and I expect we're going to have a lot more interaction as we move forward. I just want to make sure all of our executive committee had a chance to meet Tony and know that he's a resource. I mean, it's clear that he's going to be an advocate for many of the projects we'll go forward with. And yeah, it's good to have you on the team. You're invited anytime. I'm actually curious to see if getting on a Drive Electric PA would be, might make some sense for one of us to do. You said it meets quarterly?
Yeah, I'll send you the information when I think it's July is the next meeting. Yeah, it's a good meeting, and now we're just doing different topics. So last time they did like heavy duty electric trucks, and they did all different kind of. I usually talk one. I'm the head of the education outreach committee for that organization. So yeah, it's a good thing to. There's a lot of people in it. Like I said, there's a lot of municipalities that attend it too. So it's good. You'll be in good company. Because a lot of people have the same questions as you do.
Yeah, and Sarah, this is this is one of the maybe most technical and hardest things to educate people on, to kind of get comfortable with what the benefits are for transitioning and having infrastructure. So Sarah, consider Tony a resource if we have a critical mass of folks that we can get together to talk about EVs. So education,
or any type of alternative fuel, or any type of anything to do with petroleum reduction. That's what we, even anti-idling stuff. We have programs and things like that. There's all kinds of things we do. But yeah, I mean, EV is the hot flavor of the week, I call it.
Okay, well, you're welcome to stay through the balance of our meeting, Tony, and yeah, we'll make sure we share this information with everybody who wasn't able to join us today. But I think next on the agenda, we have just an update from Sarah. Over to you.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like I gave our biggest update. We created our first green job. So pretty psyched about that. Yeah, so of course, Nuhan, of course, will be starting on the 14th. We did put out, well, we haven't officially made it live yet, the call for mini grants that we'll be offering. So we will be offering, kind of terming them mini grants, in 3 categories. So each category, we invite businesses, organizations, or individuals to apply for up to $1,000. So people could apply for a small project, $200, $300, or for the full $1,000. And the 3 categories are small business, a community initiative, which can be applied for by a nonprofit or an individual, and then a student youth project. So someone age 18 or under. And so I sent out that draft description of the requirements in that call to the executive committee. If you haven't received it, let me know. If you have any feedback or suggestions to make that document more clear, more examples that we could add, please let me know. I'm hoping we can have it go live Monday. I wanted to touch base with the Chamber of Commerce. I've been a little
when did you send that out, Sarah? The overview of the grants, the mini grants?
Wasn't very long ago. It was probably Tuesday.
Okay, all right.
So it was earlier this week. Yeah.
Okay.
Hasn't been out very long. It's a pretty short document. I think it's about a
Yeah.
page and a half, 2 pages in terms
And you're
of
just looking for general
information.
comments from everybody?
General comments, just anything that would, make it a little more clear.
Okay.
I would like it to go live Monday if possible.
Okay,
And even if we need to make some slight edits for clarification, I don't think that's the worst thing to put it out on Monday and then, maybe
Okay.
add a little bit more information if there is confusion around who's eligible or, what projects might be eligible. It is quite broad for small businesses. What we'd like to be demonstrated is that it'll also save the small business money, as well as reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Community initiatives, of course, community need is prioritized. And I would say similarly with the student project as well, kind of a mixed community need, but also the greenhouse gas emissions reductions potential. But yeah, we're really excited to put that out into the community. We're working on survey distribution. So in lieu of meeting today, I've asked everyone on our team to find some time. I've offered a few times for us to walk around together. So I'll be going out into the community Saturday and I think Monday and Tuesday as well. So going door to door, to my neighborhood and around the Carlisle Tool Library and, different areas in town as well. Keeping track of where I go, but yeah, going door to door with the light bulbs and the surveys and just trying to get as many people to take the survey as possible. So I think those are the big things we have in the works right now. I'm sure I'm forgetting at least a few things, but pass it along.
have you, thanks, Sarah. Have you heard anything at all in terms of the countywide survey results or where they're
No.
at with that?
Not yet, hopefully very soon. So I'll try to keep you posted on that as well.
Are they, thanks, are they, do you know if they're officially done administering it even, or?
I think it did end in April. I think they only, I don't know the exact date. I want to say it was open for like a month or so. I do believe they're finished. I also have, Mitch has inputted the information from the surveys from Amani, except I think there's like 1 or 2. I'll make sure that's available to the executive committee, and especially Mohammed, by the latest tomorrow afternoon. Make sure
Okay.
it's available.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, Mohammed, over to you.
Sure. So not too much to report in the sense that I think we've been moving slower than we hoped so, and I take most of the responsibility for that. We've got the team leads in place from that I discussed last time, a new one that we're in communication with, and just in the last 24 hours, a lead on filling in the last few slots. And so I think what's probably going to need to happen, and Joel, consider this a question, is to have a separate, maybe dedicated session amongst our executive committee, or maybe just do it by email. Joel, it's up to you, but just sort of like agreeing on the way forward and the allocation of sort of labor, and just get moving away. The good news in the meantime is that folks who already are team leads, I've been working with them. We've been just gathering information in the background and coming up with the methodology for the cost benefit analysis, but the actual sort of meeting and brainstorming and coming up with a list of potential projects and interventions, that part has not started yet. And I think that's where the most urgent need to get going is. Oh, sorry, Joel, you're on mute. I know. We've been doing this for like a year and a half.
Wow, it's been a long time since I did the mute foul. Maybe it's a signal. Okay, so I did know that we had a offer from Mitch Files to take over. My view of this is that so we have one, when we develop the ITGs across the sectors, it just so happened that the one project on energy efficiency and behavior, it was only one. So I mean, in my sense, that's done. I mean, we have the folks identified from each of the teams. That doesn't need any, I don't think it needs any deliberation. The question comes in the other two, in transportation, we had 2 projects. In energy decarbonization, we had 3. We seem to be, with exception of maybe the reducing community vehicle miles traveled objective, we we seem to have identified leads for the other ones. The question that's been hanging out there is, you know, can we, you know, do we really have enough folks from the initial folks who were identified to be part of those ITGs to deal with all of those projects? And I don't think we're going to be able to, you know, I think we kind of need to decide whether the people identified in those ITGs can support more than one project. And if the answer is no, I think we need to think about dropping projects instead of spending more time waiting to find new people, trying to educate them on, well, what do you want me to do again? Like, we've kind of been there, and I would rather kind of make the call of how maybe whether it makes sense to try to do all of these projects, I guess is what I'm saying. Instead of just waiting to try to find new people in each of them. On the transportation end, I mean, of the two projects, clearly the promoting adoption of EVs by households and businesses is the big one, right? I mean, that I think in terms of impact, there'd be little, I don't know, little debate that would probably be the one. You know, reducing community miles traveled, you know, I think the scope of that may not need as much inter-team play, and maybe if we end up wanting to do it, we could do it with a smaller team. But I'll kind of let you determine that. You know, it may not require more than a couple people anyway. That's not quite as complex, I don't think. But in the energy decarbonization area, yeah, I think we're going to have to make some calls here. I can't speak for the people who volunteered from the zoning, from the community engagement team, from the pathways and analytics team. I can't say whether they would be able to support all three of those. I guess I would leave it up to you and the project leads to kind of figure out whether they have the resources, and if we don't, just be honest, say we may have to hit this another time, another day. But I'll kind of leave that to you to assess where we're at. I mean, as you know, we have some volunteers who I think would get involved at everything they can touch their hand, and that's great, right? I just don't know how they line up in terms of the three initial groups we set up, right? So I think we all know who the reps are for the three groups, and I'd like to kind of make a collective decision within the week as to whether we're really going to do all 6 of these projects or not. And I'll leave that recommendation to you, Mohammed. I mean, I don't know if there are any other factors we need to talk about.
I think we're actually at the same mind, Joel. I'll tell you, I'm of the opinion, and again, I didn't mean to dominate today's discussion. I'm happy to have it as a quick online brainstorm or even a quick meeting, but I'm of the opinion that, like you said, let's move forward with the folks we have, with the topics that I have covered. Let's get a couple of these cost-benefit analyses done and produced, and revise the process perhaps, and then start a new round with new topics. I think we'll get better and better as we go along. I'm of the same mind. Absolutely.
I don't consider it a failure that we may not have the level of CBA that we want, you know, by October. But
sure.
And I would go so far as to say I think the municipal transitioning to 100% renewable consumption by all borough facilities by 2050. I think we may end up having the resources, the capacity in the borough to do that before long without giving too much away, or
Mhm.
we'll have to approve such things, but that one seems like it has some smart minds kind of working on it already. It's important, and it's important in particular since it's the one thing we can definitely control, right?
Right.
But
Also where the most money is flowing right now. So I'm with you that it's the most opportunistic.
yeah, but I think we're going to have some enduring eyes looking at that soon enough. So I guess just my own view is if we could, within the already identified support, if we can somehow get them locked into the two other projects, I think that would be really, I think they're both important enough for different reasons to try to see if the identified ITG for that is able to support both projects. That may not be possible, but I'll let you decide.
And just to clarify process wise, if you're comfortable, I think if we're all comfortable, should I just go ahead and proceed and just sort of start just officially launch those groups, or do you want to have another meeting?
Yeah, let's I definitely like everybody's head to nod that says, hey, we're gonna go, we're gonna end up going with these projects. Make sure we, and here are the leads for those. I don't want to, constrain any of you from identifying another volunteer to be part of this. There was a little bit of, when we started the ITG, we didn't realize there would necessarily be multiple projects in each. We kind of developed that concept later, and but if Sarah, if you still know of somebody who has expressed interest, who hasn't already been placed in one of the teams, let Mohammed know, and we can, that will help even out the work a bit. So let's go with next, let's call it, let's make it official and say by next Thursday, a week from today, let's just make the official call. And then at that point, it's really your show. You've got your project leads, and they are, they're deputized to meet whenever, however they're needed. If you need any municipal resources, buildings, office space, technology, whatever, you know how to find me. I know somebody who works there, so I can probably help you out.
Meetings, Joel? Have you on record as saying you're buying the donuts?
Right.
But that's the direction I was hoping for.
Okay.
That's helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Anything else?
I did have a protocol question for you, which is in doing our research and sort of sniffing around about what other municipalities are doing and how it's getting funded. We sort of established contacts with some different funds out there. I mean, we just heard today from the grant writing that's happening. Do we have, I'm gonna pardon my ignorance, do we have like a comptroller or a master of coin? I don't know what the proper term is, at the program.
Yes.
Somebody, if it's appropriate at this stage, is the question I'm asking, to make introductions, or should we just keep having informal discussions about how money could flow?
Yeah.
The borough,
Well,
and later on we make it more formal.
well, I do know that person, where's my list? Hang with me for a second here.
Enjoy. I just meant that as a protocol question. I can figure out who the person is.
Well, what?
Yeah.
Actually, that kind of has result. The person that the resource we'll have for that would be Richard Jude. He is actually on the energy decarbonization team.
I remember the name. I recall the name. Yeah.
He's your guy.
Okay. Well, there you go.
And you have permission to directly request information from him. I would ask that you simply CC Susan Armstrong, the manager, just to let her know. And yeah, consider Richard your resource for not just the decarbonization, but any sort of municipal specific information you needed, but involving the budget. He's definitely your guy.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the only question I had. Thanks, Joel.
Okay. Yep. Thanks, Mohammed. And then let's go around with our group. No particular, just how you are on my screen. Hey, Tony Reimer, any updates for the group here?
No updates, just a quick question, I guess, from Mohammed, I guess, with the cost benefit analysis. I mean, when are you going to need help and what do you need?
So the when is easier to answer, which is, I think we're probably going to hit that point, hopefully within like a month and a half of everything getting going. We don't want to keep the brainstorming part of it too long, right? We haven't decided on what exactly the methodology is just yet. We're sort of trying to create something that's realistic given our resources and even where we are in the planning process, right? How much detail do we want to get into? But the when is in the next few months.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong, I think our timeline still holds despite the delays. But yeah, soon.
I guess it's going to be natural gas usage for the areas and
so
costs associated, but
one of the categories of inquiry is fuel switching, right? And natural gas is a big part of that. And then also, in terms of even the municipal building component that Joel just talked about, and the possibility of switching over, fuel oil to nat gas. So that's going to be a big part of that conversation. I'll tell you, Tony, I think I mentioned this before, and you shared things before, so thank you for that. But if you've seen sort of smart studies or just smart conversations in other, boroughs and other municipalities, we welcome the case studies, we welcome the example, even just a name. I'm happy to call them and just chat through how they did it. We're very much in that learning phase, so I welcome any suggestions you have.
okay. Well, if you want to have like a sidebar conversation, we could talk about it if you want. Some technical stuff, be glad to help.
All right, will do. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Tom Horton. Do you have anything for the group?
Not too much. A couple things I've been working on here of late. I'm actually looking at developing a PPA for solar and putting in enough that will produce enough energy for all the buildings in town. So I've got one more vendor that I'm working with to get numbers, and hopefully we can pull it off.
Wow. Is it within the county?
The vendor?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
On a PPA, it's there are large corporations. The one that I'm working with is Tangent Energy. I'm not sure where they're out of. And then the person I talked to today is actually out of Chicago. But they're working with our local PASBO association. So, and one of their prime things is working with school districts to make it affordable.
Oh, okay. So
There's no out-of-pocket money for the district.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yep.
I'll be curious to hear if that works out.
It'll be additional 4 megs.
Okay.
I was going to volunteer, Tom, just because being the nerd that I am, I've literally written a book on PPAs. It's free if you want a copy, first of all. But also, I've read thousands of those things and negotiated thousands of them. So if I can be at all helpful.
Absolutely.
Not being your lawyer, of course, but being a friendly voice in the conversation. Please don't hesitate to be new.
Because the one thing that I've done differently than I think most PPAs are is I've negotiated a percentage of the renewable energy credit.
Oh, it's a retainer, like so you can actually get. Oh, yeah. So happy to talk about that. That's a smart thing to do.
Yep, I certainly will. When I get all my information, we'll sit down and chat.
That's really exciting. Yeah, I should buy you two a coffee. Talk to you. Hey, Mohammed, one thing I will say, just as I'm thinking about the resources we have, if it is to the degree as possible, getting sort of the community questions that would be useful for Sarah's team earlier as possible, since we have this intern. Like I know that's a major I think job that Sarah sort of has may in whole part want to give to the intern Nuhan, and all things being equal, and if it's possible, really getting a good set of survey questions would be good early on.
Point taken, and actually what I might do, especially if they're sort of eager to get moving, maybe we have some early questions, and rather than waiting for them all to be ready, I can start feeding them iteratively. So the point taken.
Yeah. We do need to move. We definitely need to move on that part. We know that. So yeah, just I know Sarah had explicitly said at this point she was kind of going to wait on the project leads to feed her some questions.
Joel, I'm sorry to keep coming up with random comments. I'm sorry. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
So I think this actually might be interesting for Sarah, and it's got parallels to some of the other discussions. So I had the follow-up meeting with the Great American Power folks. And more interestingly is they brought their whole corporate team because they're part of a conglomerate and there's a whole bunch of things. Long story short, they've got this integrated market platform where they can try to squeeze the best price for whatever your energy bursting is. That's great. I mean, I'm not sold on it, but what's interesting is the first thing they asked for were our climate goals. They wanted to know the actual carbon specific goals. And then they wanted to be able to write a pitch to those numbers, saying not like we're going to sell you power for this price, but we're going to produce X amount of carbon offset or carbon savings or carbon whatever at the best price possible. And what it made me realize, and I'm asking this as a question because I don't know if we've done it, is I know community for us has been primarily our citizenry and to some extent our businesses. Have we thought about literally advertising that we've set these goals and soliciting bids, soliciting proposals from the private sector? If you think you have a way to help us meet these numbers in a way that's cost effective or in a way that's even cost neutral, we are open for suggestion. And I say that because it's the business community, which is beyond our borough borders. But I just want to put that out there, that I was very interested that they seem to be keen on preparing something to our goals as opposed to just, here's the best price. And I wonder if that's a possible other form of outreach.
Yeah. I think Susan and Mark would probably want to have a little bit more detail in terms of it's interesting you would say just having the carbon greenhouse gas reduction targets with no context of how whether offsets or whatever could meet that. I don't know if we know the answer. You would have to have a little bit more detail than I think we've already been through. We haven't even had the debate on this commission of how do we feel about offsets, which I think is an important conversation to have, which is a long way to answer your question. I don't think we're there yet. And just for people who might be viewing, there was a suggestion we meet with a provider to see the feasibility of community, what's called community aggregation. We met with the provider to get some information, and Mohammed is simply followed up based on their, after our discussion, we realized there are several services they provided beyond just a blanket community aggregation that has its own logistic, that has its own financial trails, has its own sort of burdens that may not make the most sense for us, but they do represent a growing set of energy providers that is worth us thinking about options. And really, I think there are so many, and Mohammed, you know this better than I. There are so many programs and ways of financing and just ways of skinning the cat. Now, the cat's not going to like any of them, but there are several ways of doing this, and some of them can be very complex. I think what we learned working with Create America was that it is kind of a complex space, and we do need to think about we do need to think about answering the blanks about offsets and things like that, and payback periods and all that stuff.
Yeah, Joel, and just to clarify, because I don't think I said it well before, what I'm suggesting is that parallel to our community-led inquiry as to what we should do to help ourselves in the future, to sort of put ourselves in the pathway we've decided for ourselves, we might want to consider putting together a sort of a general RFP, a request for proposal. Sorry, I'm going to stop the nerd talk. Within the different project categories, which is to say that we are investigating ourselves, but we also welcome anybody who already has investigated, their own proposal, to send it our way, to sort of opening the door to things we don't discover on our own. That's all I'm trying to say. So that's happy to sort of put some more context to that later on, but that's just something I want to put out there. It's a way of getting people to do work for us.
Let's talk some more about that. So it sounds like you can get some information without necessarily committing or obligating.
Sure.
I mean, that's always interesting. Okay, let's talk more. Yeah, let's talk more about that. Good observation. Jim Rowland, sorry, anything for the group?
So Tony took the one item. It's also the lend of help for any of your analysis and modeling, because we have a lot of experience in that too. Happy to help. The other thing I'll put out for this team is I'm working internally within my group to create a summary document of our next phase of Act 129 for energy efficiency and conservation. We just started with that. It actually just kicked off June 1st. So I wasn't able to provide anything before that because we can't publicize it before it goes live. So I have a meeting set up next week to create some documents for that. As soon as I get those documents, I'll distribute it to the team. Could give you some ideas now because it's a brand new plan. So we're just kicking this stuff off of how it might fit into your different proposals and plans as you're going forward, to maybe slot that in as additional resources that you can have, anything from education to doing efficiency measures, things like that for your businesses, municipalities, and customers. So even getting the word out to customers would be really helpful.
That will be useful. We did get some clarification that the federal funds that are allocated to CDBG qualified areas can be used for energy efficiency broadly, weatherization, but also actually for HVAC. It can be all levels of costs. We're getting a bit of a plus up, right? And I'm sure a lot of that's going to be. I've been hinting that we really need to think about energy efficiency maybe more than we have historically in terms of improving quality of life in those low and medium income areas. So I'll be one of several voices really pushing for us to think more about energy efficiency as a community growth and community building part of our grant portfolio. And it'll be good to have some of your knowledge and background to help us think about what we can actually do and what makes the most sense on a dollar value. Is HVACing fewer houses from a cost perspective, better than weatherizing more houses, things like that. So some of your data might be really useful to help us come up with a better strategy in serving those communities. So yeah, that's helpful. Thanks, Jim. We had a lot of information. We're such a small group. We had a lot of information. Thanks for hanging, everybody. Stephanie, Joyce, did you have anything for the group, or does anybody have anything for the good of the order?
Just to jump in really quick, of the conversation that you're having with Mohammed earlier, I think that'd be really helpful to have any questions that you might have. Our group was even just talking about solar fields versus putting solar panels on warehouses the other day. And just in terms of like I think in that specific example, I think it works really well as an example of something that we might want to get ahead of in terms of, I think people are particularly sensitive in this area to, open green space, particularly farmland being taken up in any capacity. On the other side of that, there are ways that you can do native plantings to encourage bees and other native pollinators in solar fields. And I think just having that kind of information, but also the different options that are available to kind of share with the community as well. Even just to have there as a resource, for having these conversations, or if people are looking over the 6, or if it becomes 5 actions, but the actions that we're considering for the cost benefit analysis, anything that you can kind of think of that we might want to get out to the community. I'm very much open to whatever you have. So we can even post it online. It can just be something that we're talking to people, in person about, however you think is best. But yeah, send whatever you have.
Thanks, Sarah. Anything else for the good of the order tonight? All right, good to see everybody. We'll go ahead and adjourn. Thanks. Good night, everyone.